Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this episode of Complaint Free Life. I'm your host, Salwa Modova, greeting you from Kiev. So, before I dive into today's topic, I really want to remind you that you should definitely come and join me in my lab for transitioning humanitarians, where we'll be discussing lots of different topics, one of which will be the topic that I will talk to you today about. And if you want to join, you can do that until 26th of September. So go to acelormonova.com and you'll find all the information under the section group coaching. So I hope you'll join me and we can continue discussing this topic further. So the topic that I want to talk to you about is the resistance formula. And I will talk in a minute, of course, about what resistance is, what I mean by it, and what are the consequences of non understanding this formula, and what can we actually do to counteract this formula if we don't like the consequences of what's happening, right? So I feel like I have cracked the code of frustrations. and the way that I'm thinking about it is that so resistance, right? The resistance is actually the reason why we don't achieve goals we want to, why we keep feeling frustrated, why we keep feeling disappointed, why we keep blaming ourselves, others, of how things are supposed to be this way and not going the way that we expect. So, resistance really is when you think that things should be in one particular way and they're not, right? So, the first is the expectation. This is how it should be because we always have expectation, and then it's not, is when how the life is. And then this generates lots of negative emotions. I mean, in quotes, right? Emotions that we don't like, frustration, disappointment, anger, stress, all the things. And then this results in us not wanting to do things anymore, us not wanting to do this in the way that we're doing anymore. And we keep resisting, we keep like feeling like we're banging our head against the wall and nothing coming out of it. And we keep being in that state. And that's probably getting us to exhaust emotionally the whole time. We don't like what we do. We don't really believe that what we do will result in something good. So that's why we just keep being in that negative energy. This is the formula that happens to like probably all humankind. So if you haven't really catch it, I will just repeat it in a minute to say one is expectation, two, the life, meaning it doesn't go the way you want to. Three, it results in all the emotions that you probably don't like, which then lead you to be doing things that you don't really want to. Four, right? And then you keep being in that state of mind or in that emotional state and keep doing the next things out of this belief that it's not going to work. What's the point? Um, why bother? And all of these things. So these 5 steps of the formula. Now, we often have this resistance and this resistance formula, and we don't really recognize that this is what's happening. And it's so even predictable. It's so like transparent if you look at this, if you tie things away from each other, like if you make it transparent and bring to your awareness, these are the 5 things that we're doing, 5 things that we're experiencing, right? Now, we often feel like, though, that we can't really do anything about it because as if it's like beyond our control, as if this just happens and we can't really do anything about it, right? So it could be happening in your life, it could be happening in your work life, whatever it is. So, for instance, if it's at work life, it could be like something you're expecting that your team or your office or your organization is supposed to do this. and it's not happening the way you expect, which generates for you the feelings of all the things that you are feeling. And then it makes all of these feelings make you feel like you don't really be doing things. Even if you do, you do it out of resistance, out of like force. And then you just stay in that state for some time. Excuse me. The same can go for the transitioning journey, right? So imagine you're transitioning, you expected it's going to be this. Maybe you didn't even expect this, but at least you had this idea that it could go well. You could probably also think of, yeah, maybe somewhere it won't work, but you wouldn't really know what it is. So that's why you just keep it vague, and then challenges will occur like it always does. And then we start being so busy focusing on how it's not working, what's not working, and getting frustrated and disappointed and all of these things that we actually have no time then to go and do something about it because we're already exhausted or we're already fearful that, oh my God, things are not working. Right. So you can see that resistance has so much power over us in so many ways. And because we have so much power over us that we believe that we can't really do anything about it, this is just how we are, this is just how life is, and then we just explain things away and we don't do anything about it. So, my friends, today I am presenting to you the, the cracked code of what to do with resistance. I'm thinking of 3 effective approaches to counteract resistance. And the most effective part probably is at the stage of how you can um, encounter. So, no, let me say another way. The most effective way to counteract the resistance that you're experiencing currently is to acknowledge those emotions. It's like so counterintuitive in so many ways, but this works. I promise. I have done it this morning. I do this very often. It works. So acknowledge all of that, what's happening. Disappointed, frustrated, all the things. Allow them. Just stay with them. And then once you allow all of them to be there, you have this feeling of, okay, I'm allowing it. I'm letting them be where they are. And then once you do that, there is this peace, calm mode. And that's when you can go to the next stage, the second approach, where you can remind yourself, okay, this is not the way that I thought it would go. Lesson learned. How do I want to show up in this process now of solving it? This is another very effective mode. And you can always approach it from this self concept of yours that you can always do something about it. You can always change it. You can always solve it. And how you could just do that without concentrating so much on what's not working or how it's not working and the blaming or all the things, but instead of, okay, how do I want to spend my energy, my resources, my time on things that I want to make it work? I want to contribute to making it work. If you're working in a company or in a team, right? Because sitting around being frustrated is absolutely an option, and probably many of us have done that and also tired of doing it, right? So we need something that allows us to have those emotions, and then once we have it, then we just take this, like as if we're taking this new hat of being the person who can do something about it, being the person who trusts that I can change, I can make something different with it, I can make a different result that I'm wanting. Let me take up that concept of mine and then act from there, right? Act from that personality, act from that being who says, I want to do something about it. I want to help change it. I want to I can do something to make a different outcome next time than the one that we have so far, right? So this is the second approach. And the third approach is, of course, learning from all of that and saying, okay, these ways didn't work. Now let's try this. You can see that you can always interrupt this formula at the level of emotions, right? The level of emotion, meaning whatever the emotions that you have experienced after being disappointed, you can allow them to be there. Disappointment is simply saying that yes, you expected in one way, and it didn't go the way you expected. Now what are you gonna do, right? So we can allow all of that to be there, and then be the person who says, okay, how do I want to now change the outcome that I want? How do I want to do something so that the outcome that I want is that I come closer to that outcome than the one that I'm getting now, right? And then the third is, how can I learn from all of this so the next one will be even better? So with all of this, all I'm saying is that resistance could be a clue or I guess a triggering point or a clue for a reminder, I should say, maybe even better, a reminder that says to you that you have a chance now to change the course of things. You have a chance now to do something about it because you know that you have been disappointed and you don't want to be disappointed again, right? You have the chance to do something about it. What often, however, happens is that once we're disappointed, we don't want to be even undertaking anything or working on that thing again because we just believe like it's not going to work. We just believe we rather want to stay in the disappointment and keep feeling disappointed instead of going and looking at it from a fresh eye and say, okay, how else can we solve it? If this is not going to if this is not going the way that we want to, so how else can we do that, right? So because the difference is so huge is that if we look at things as something we can do about it, something we can solve, then we'll always be in the powerful position. We'll always be in the position of in charge and solving it rather than keep being disappointed and keep being frustrated and keep expecting things and then keep seeing that it's not happening and then just feeling like, well, you see, I was right, it's not going to work, it's never going to work, and all of these things, right? So that's why you can see that you have always the way, or you can always take up this self concept of the person who can be in charge of doing something about it to bring up the solutions closer to the outcome you want instead of being in the outcome that you don't like. See what I'm saying? And you always have the choice whether you want to stay in the outcome that you don't like, or you decide how you want to look at it differently or how you want to solve it differently so that you can at least can say to yourself that you have done your best, you have done everything in your power to solve it. Okay. So this is the point is that the more you understand your resistance, the more you understand the formula that you're going through in the resistance, and you're coming to the same point in the end, the same result, then you understand that you can do something about it to change the result. And in order to change the result, you need to understand every piece of that formula of where or how the formula is playing out and where you have the power to change something about it, where you have the power to do something about it. And the power lies always before the emotions or after. And usually we don't have really so much control for many of us who haven't really done the mindset works, not so much control of doing it before the emotion, and that's fine. That's why I really want you to at least start taking your power after the emotion, after having experienced the disappointment, after having experienced the frustration. Then you can allow that, you can acknowledge that, and once you acknowledge it, then you can ask yourself, okay, I have been disappointed, I have been frustrated, and I know the reasons why. I don't want to be in that state again. So these are the ways that I can change the next time this happens or next course of action, right? So you can always act in that moment to say, okay, who do I want to be in that moment, in that situation, to make changes so that the next time I'm not in the disappointing place again. I'm not in the frustrating place again. And then this actually works with any circumstances where you're in, whether you are working on your transitioning on your own or whether you're working on um, whatever the project you're having currently with team members. And also, again, notice that whenever you're working with team members, there will always be reasoning, like your brain will be saying, well, it doesn't really depend on me because there are so many people involved and all of these things, right? But imagine what if every one of that team member had the same approach to say, I can do something in this part of the form. I can make a change in this way by taking the responsibility for how I want to contribute to the solution. Imagine if every person in that team did that, how would the outcome be changed? And even if other people are not doing their part as you expect, so there is no reason to be again disappointed and resistance, right? Don't use that as a reason to be resistance again, but instead focus on even if you're part of the team, how can you do your part as best as you can, as best as you want to do something about the outcome that you're wanting, coming to the outcome you're wanting without expecting anything from the other team members. Um, and how can you do that part of yours so at least you can say that you've done your part as best as you could. And that way you will feel proud for doing it. You will also feel proud for having done it and learning from this experience, but also this will strengthen your self concept as a person who always tries to find the solution to whatever the situation instead of staying in disappointment and in frustration and then like feeling like you can't really do anything about it, right? So you can always then strengthen your muscles of solving problems um, step by step and then never um, indulging in the resistance and never indulging it or using the resistance as a reason why you don't want to continue doing it, or even if you do it, you just do it barely because you don't really want to invest so much effort and all the things. Instead of doing that, you could just say, okay, I know the formula, I know what's happening, I know why I'm doing it, I know why I'm having this resistance, and here are the ways that I can change, and here are the ways that I want to change, and this is the self-concept that I will be using to change it, and this is the result that I will be working towards it, and then keep your focus on the solutions rather than on the problems or on how or what won't work. Okay, my dears, if you want to apply this and see how this works out for you, I highly recommend starting from where the feelings are and detecting and then allowing them, and then start working your way through this. Um, and if you're having any questions or challenges in implementing um, or in processing or even allowing those feelings to be there, which is absolutely understandable because many of us haven't really learned how to allow those emotions and feelings to be there, how to acknowledge them. If you're having difficulty with that, then definitely join the lab for transition humanitarians. And that's what we're going to dive into, how we can get you out of your own resistance, how you can use your resistance as a trigger to remind yourself that this is a time where you took your self-concept of the person who trusts, who knows what to do, how to solve problems from the other perspective, and start working towards it. Okay, my dears, have an amazing weekend, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye.